The village of Darsan lay nestled at the edge of a forest so dense, even moonlight feared to step between its trees. Few villagers dared to wander beyond the outer meadows. Stories whispered around smoky hearths warned of ancient magic sealed in the hills beyond. And children were often scolded with tales of the mere Wraitha spirit who could trap your soul with a single glance. But 15-year-old Nira was never one to believe in whispers. She had bigger things to worry about, like surviving on her own. Her mother, Mela, had disappeared 7 years ago, while gathering herbs beyond the eastern ridge. Most assumed she had perished. Some claimed they saw glints of glass in the forest days after she vanished, as if the sun itself had fractured and spilled across the leaves. Only Nira believed her mother was still alive. And today, after years of silence, she finally had a clue. The discovery had come by accident. While cleaning her mother's old armoire, Nira had found a hidden compartment behind a panel of tarnished wood. Inside it lay a map, unlike any she'd ever seen. It shimmered with a strange iridescence, and the ink shifted colors when tilted in the light. More startling still was a map of a place she had heard of only in legends. Shazar, the Valley of Glass. Her fingers trembled as she traced the outline. Mountains curved around the valley like guarding arms. Rivers flowed in mirror-like strands. In the center, marked with a symbol resembling an eye, was a tower. Underneath her mother's handwriting, "The key is light, and light remembers. Nira, if you find this, follow the reflection. I will be waiting." Nira's heart pounded. Her mother had been there. Was still there? She couldn't know, but she had to try. That night, Nira packed a satchel with essentials. A wool cloak, dried berries, a canteen, a small flint knife, and the pendant her mother had gifted her long ago, made of aged wood and warm to the touch. She didn't know why, but it always comforted her in moments of doubt. She crept past the sleeping village, moving silently through the edge of the woods. An owl hooted once from above. The wind whispered through the tall grass like a warning, or perhaps a welcome. And as she stepped beneath the first boughs of the forest, her journey began. Hours passed under a canopy of leaves. The path narrowed as the trees grew strangersome, with bark that looked like polished stone and others whose leaves shimmered like thin silver. She paused at a clearing near a stream, spreading the map out. A glowing moth landed on its surface, and to her astonishment, the map-reacted ridges rose like embossed paths, and the lines shimmered brighter. Was alive, somehow guiding her. The moth fluttered away, and Nira continued, emboldened. She climbed slopes etched with ancient carvings, crossed bridges woven from roots, and passed through narrow valleys where no birds sang. Everything felt watched not in a threatening way, but as if the land itself was aware of her presence. Finally, as dawn began to crack across the sky, she reached a ridge. Below it stretched the valley from the map, and her breath caught in her throat. It was like nothing she'd ever seen. Shazar shimmered in the morning light like a dream. The valley floor glittered as if made of countless panes of glass, reflecting the sky, the clouds, and even her astonished face. Trees with crystalline trunks stretched toward the heavens. Rivers flowed like silver ribbons. And in the center of it all stood a tall, spiraling tower at surface, a mosaic of mirrors, gleaming like a needle of light piercing the clouds. But beauty alone was not what stopped her. No, what truly stunned her was the faint image she saw reflected in the valley below. Her mother's face barely visible, watching from a pool of mirrored water. It was gone in a blink. Nira clutched the wooden pendant around her neck, suddenly certain. Her mother was alive. But as she took her first step into the valley, a sudden cold swept over her. The air shimmered. The trees no longer looked welcoming. The glassy ground beneath her feet shifted like water, though it held her weight. From the corner of her eye she saw it. A shape tall, slender, and not quite solid, watching her from between two mirrored trees. Its eyes glowed faintly like dying stars, and its fingers were too long, curling slightly as it raised a hand. Nira blinked and it was gone. But she knew then. Shishazar was not just a place of wonder, it was alive. And it had been waiting. Nira had always imagined magic to be soft like candlelight in winter or lullabies sung beneath a starlit sky. But Shishazar pulsed with a magic that was sharp, humming, almost alive. As she stepped further into the valley, each footfall echoed like a chime on the crystal ground. The trees around her, tall and glimmering, swayed, though there was no wind. Their branches stretched outward in spirals, and the leaves shimmered like stained glass. Some appeared to grow upside down, their roots twisting into the air like fingers clawing at the sky. The silence was unsettling. There were no bird calls, no rustling of animals, just the distant, pulsing hum of the valley. And then came the whispers. At first she thought it was the wind. As she walked beneath a massive arched tree, its trunk wide enough to hold a room, she heard them again. Murmurs. Voices faint and broken, like an echo calling across water. She comes with the light. The bearer returns, ... the pendant. The old one's child. Nira froze. Is there? No answer. Just more whispers, shifting between the leaves like memories too fragile to hold. Her heart pounded in her chest. Was this some trick of the valley? Or had someone seen her? She reached for the wooden pendant hanging around her neck and held it tightly. The moment her fingers closed around it, the whispers stopped. Everything went still. And then, from just ahead, a soft glow began to rise, like fireflies gathering in one place. Cautiously, Nira stepped toward the light. It was coming from a grove, nestled between tall, mirrored trees. At its center stood a low pedestal made of stone and glass, cracked with age but humming softly with magic. Hovering just above the pedestal was a mere shard, no larger than her palm, spinning slowly in the air. Symbols carved around the stone glowed faintly in the same shifting colors as her map. Something about the shard felt familiar. As Nira approached, the shard spun faster. Then suddenly, it shot forward, halting inches before her face, and reflected not her own image, but her mother's. Mela stood there, in the mirror's surface, her face calm but distant. She looked older, tired, but her eyes glowed with the same fire Nira remembered. Nira, the voice whispered from the shard not aloud, but inside her head. You must listen. Shishazar is not what it once was. The mirrors are alive. They remember, and they hunger. Do not trust your reflection. And then shatter. The shard broke apart mid-air, dissolving into golden dust. Nira gasped. The grove darkened instantly, the glowing pedestal turning gray. All around her the trees seemed to lean closer, their mirrored trunks rippling. Not trust your reflection. The words echoed in her head as she backed away from the grove, suddenly hyper-aware of every mirrored surface around her. She moved quickly, guided once more by the shifting map. It responded to her touch, lighting paths and symbols as if it knew exactly where she needed to go. Still, the terrain grew more twisted the deeper she went. The ground split in odd angles. Reflections moved before she did. In one stretch of path, her shadow walked backwards. And then she reached a new clearing. This one was different lush, with soft moss and real grass growing between the crystals. In its center stood an enormous tree made entirely of twisting glass roots, and beneath it sat a figure in a dark green cloak, a living being. Nira hesitated, watching. The figure raised its head, revealing a sharp, kind face, part human, part something else. Its skin shimmered faintly like crystal, and its eyes held reflections of stars. When it spoke, its voice was melodic, strange. You are the pendant of the first flame, that has not been seen in these lands for many years. Nira nodded, still cautious. Who are you? I am Corin, a warden of echoes, a guide of those who enter, but do not belong. And you are Mala's blood. Nira stepped forward. You knew my mother? Corin stood slowly, tall and graceful. Yes, she came here once, bearing hope and light. She tried to mend what had been broken. But the valley had already turned. The enchantress Arlo had rooted herself deep in the Tower of Reflections, and your mother was captured. Nira's hands balled into fists. Is she still alive? Corin's eyes darkened. Her spirit dwells in the mirrors, like thousands of others who fell under Zarila's gaze. But she is strong, she fights. And now, with you here, there may yet be a way to free them all. The wind picked up around them, though no trees moved. But time is thin, Corin added. Zarila senses your presence. She fears the pendant. If she finds you first, she will not imprison you. She will consume you. Nira's heart raced. Then tell me what to do. The warden nodded. He reached into the glass roots of the tree and withdrew a staff, carved from the same wood as her pendant and capped with a mirrored stone. Take this. It will help you see truth where the mirrors lie. Your path lies east, through the cleft of echoes. Beyond it, you will find the Hall of Memory. There, the valley stores its oldest secrets Zarila cannot yet erase. He stepped back. Go now, child of light. The valley shifts when it fears, and it fears you. As Nira left the clearing, staff in hand, the wind seemed to follow her. Whispers rose once more from the trees, no longer aimless this time. Warning, she comes. She walks with truth. The glass shall break again. But even as fear gripped her heart, Nira felt something else buried deep, but growing stronger. Hope. The path eastward bent like a serpent through rising glass hills. With each step, the air grew cooler, heavier. The sky above shimmered as though she were walking beneath a great dome made of liquid crystal. Every now and then, Nira glimpsed strange reflections in the valley walls, people who weren't there. Animals with too many eyes, trees that bloomed in reverse. She kept moving. Clutched in her hand was the warden's staff, its mirrored tip glowing faintly as it pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat. Her mother's pendant now shimmered a shade brighter, responding to the staff as if the two were connected. Ahead, the path split, descending between two jagged ridges. The map pulsed in her satchel and lit the way forward, directly into the mouth of a narrow canyon where the light disappeared entirely. The cleft of echoes, she whispered. Corin's voice echoed in her memory. Greater than be wary. The cleft hears you, when worse it speaks back. As she stepped into the canyon, the sound of her boots shifted. No longer the soft tap of glass or moss here. Her footsteps echoed unnaturally, as if dozens of invisible Niras walked beside her, slightly out of sync. The light dimmed. The walls were sheer and mirrored, reflecting her from 1,000 angles. She tried not to look at them, tried not to listen. But the canyon had other plans. You left her to die, said a voice to her left. Nira spun, nothing there. Only her reflection, its eyes darker than hers. You'll fail just like she did, said another, behind her. She quickened her pace, but the voices followed. You're not strong enough, you were alone. Even your mother gave up. No, Nira growled. Lies, but her voice echoed too. And the echoes, they didn't match what she said, as whispered her reflection. She gave up, and so will you. Suddenly, the path before her twisted. The mirrored walls narrowed until she had to walk sideways, brushing up against her own reflection on either side. Her fingers grazed the smooth surface and felt a pulse. The glass was warm. Then a figure stepped out of the wall. A perfect copy, same cloak, same staff, same tired eyes. Only, the smile was wrong. Too wide, too calm. You can rest now, said the reflection. I'll finish your journey. Just let go. Nira backed away, raising the staff. You're not me, aren't I? I'm the you that wants to stop pretending. I'm the you that knows this place can't be beaten. The mirrored Nira raised her hand, and a second later, so did 3 more versions of her, stepping from the walls in every direction. Dozens of copies shimmered around her, each smiling with a kind of pity. The staff in her hand burned hot. Truth reveals truth, Corin had said. Use it when the lie becomes too loud. Nira gritted her teeth, lifted the staff high, and slammed it against the crystal floor. Boom. A ripple of light burst outward. The reflections screamed, not aloud, but inside her mind. They cracked like broken glass and shattered into a storm of shards, which melted into mist and vanished. The path cleared. Her real shadow stretched long once more behind her. Shaken but undeterred, Nira pressed forward. The canyon eventually widened into a hollow chamber at its heart. There, standing upon a dais of broken stone, was an ancient archway carved of obsidian and silver. In its center hung a shimmering veil, like water suspended in midair. Runes lit up along the base as Nira approached. The air tingled. This wasn't just a passage. It was a test. Above the arch, etched in faint silver script, were words in an ancient tongue. Yet somehow she understood them. Only one who remembers who they truly are may pass. She stepped forward. The veil pulsed, and then her mind was pulled away. She was no longer in the valley. She stood in her old home beside the fire. Her mother was cooking, laughing, humming. Outside, the wind rustled through the fields. It was perfect. Too perfect. Nira looked around. Nothing was wrong, but everything felt like a memory built from glass. Her mother turned to her, eyes kind. You don't have to go back, Nira. Stay. You've come so far. Rest now. Yeah. Nira wanted to her whole body ached for warmth and safety. But in her chest, something rebelled. This isn't real, she said. Her mother stepped closer. Does it matter? You're safe? Loved? Isn't that what you wanted? Tears sprang to Nira's eyes. More than anything. But not like this. She reached for her pendant. The illusion shivered. And then she slammed the staff down again. The memory shattered. She stumbled forward out of the veil and onto solid crystal ground. The archway behind her faded. She had passed. Beyond the arch was a quiet glade surrounded by whispering trees. But in the center, built into the side of a hill, stood a structure unlike anything she had seen before, a massive circular chamber of black stone. Its walls embedded with hundreds, maybe thousands of mirrors. Some were small, others towered stories high. Each one shimmered with ghostly shapes trapped within. The Hall of Memory, she whispered.
Oh.
And somewhere within those mirrors, her mother waited. The doors to the Hall of Memory creaked open with a groan that sounded like distant thunder. Nira stepped cautiously inside, her staff raised, her breath catching in her throat. The interior was massive, like a cathedral, carved into a mountain of glass. The floor was smooth obsidian, veined with silver light. The walls were curved and lined with mirrors of every shape and size, some round like moons, others jagged like shattered ice. They pulsed faintly like living hearts. Each mirror whispered, "Help me, ... double quotes. I remember the sun, ... Who am I? Who am I?" Nira clutched her mother's pendant tightly. The sound was overwhelming, not painful, but mournful. 1,000 trapped voices, echoing centuries of sorrow, souls frozen in silver. She stepped deeper into the hall. As she walked, the mirrors flickered and showed her things. A man screaming as he vanished into a mirrored wall. A girl not much older than herself, reaching out to someone who wasn't there. A child weeping, trapped inside a prism of glass. And then Mala, her mother, in a tall oval mirror framed with rose-colored vines. Malice stood in a crystalline chamber, her hands pressed against the glass, her lips moving silently. "Mama." Nira ran forward and touched the mirror, but her mother's image did not react. It was only a memory, a moment frozen in time. Then the voice came. Cold, sharp, sweet as poison. "So, the little flame has found her way in." Nira turned around fast. Oh, no one was there. But the mirrors around her shimmered, and from every surface, a new image formed. A woman, tall, pale, ageless, wrapped in robes of black and violet, her skin so smooth it looked like carved ivory, her eyes gleamed like polished onyx. Her hair floated as if under water. "Zarila," Nira breathed. The enchantress of reflection smiled across every mirror in the hall. "You carry the flame. I can smell it. That foolish little spark your mother brought here so long ago. She came to protect the valley," Nira said defiantly, "and you trapped her." Zarila raised an elegant eyebrow. "She came to disrupt order. This valley was broken long before I arrived, child. I merely gave it purpose. I offered peace, stillness, memory." The mirrors around Nira flashed, showing images of peaceful landscapes, sleeping children, even Mela, standing silently beneath crystal trees. Is that peace? Nira snapped. The prisoners? They are safe, Zarila said softly. No more fear. No more aging. No more loss. You think your mother wants to return to the world? To pain? To time? Zarila's reflection stepped forward in one of the larger mirrors, her voice lowering. Let me show you what she saw. Before Nira could move, a beam of light lashed from the mirror, striking her chest. Her vision blurred. Her knees buckled. Flash. She was no longer in the hall. She stood in the valley years ago. Beside her Mala, younger, stronger. She was arguing with someone. A vision of Zarila, more ethereal, stood across from her. You said the valley needed healing, Mela said, but you're controlling it. No, Zarila replied. I'm preserving it. Without guidance, the valley collapses. Memory turns to madness. Mela turned to Levend. Shadowy figures rose from the mirrored trees to seize her. You'll thank me in time, Zarila whispered. Flash Nira gasped, back in the present. Her knees hit the floor of the Hall of Memory. Her pendant burned hot against her chest. The staff in her hand flared bright silver. You showed me that to frighten me, Nira said breathlessly. But it just proved you took her by force. Zarila's smile flickered for the first time. You don't understand the valley. It was broken by those who forgot their stories. Mirrors hold them. I hold them. Without me, this land crumbles into chaos. Then let it crumble, Nira said, standing tall. If it's built on stolen lives... Zarila's voice turned cold. Then you will join them. The air thickened. The mirrors began to pulse faster. Light bent around her. The pendant glowed bright, blinding. Nira gritted her teeth and raised the staff. If you want to trap me, come and try. She slammed the staff into the floor. A blast of silver light surged from her like a wave. The mirrors exploded with sound and light. Voices cried out, some in pain, some in hope. Zarila's reflection screeched and flickered. Foolish girl, you awaken things you don't understand. The spell broke. Zarila's presence vanished from the hall, leaving only the humming of the mirrors and Nira, standing alone, her staff glowing like moonfire. In the shattered stillness, one mirror remained unbroken. Mela, now clearer than before, she turned. This time, she saw Nira. Her eyes widened in recognition, while her hands pressed to the glass, trembling. Nira. Is it really you? Tears welled in Nira's eyes. I found you, Mama. I'm going to bring you home. Mala's voice faint but real. The tower, the heart of Zar. You must go there. That's where she keeps our souls. That's where she keeps me. Nira nodded, her voice steady, heart pounding with purpose. I will. She turned to leave the Hall of Memory, the mirrors echoing softly as she passed. Greater than the flame has returned. The girl of light walks again. The valley remembers. The sun was beginning to set as Nira left the Hall of Memory, but in Shisha Zar, sunset was strange. The sky turned glass pink. The clouds took on the shape of eyes. The light cast mirrored shadows, ones that didn't always follow their owners. The staff glowed faintly in her hand. The pendant around her neck felt heavier, pulsing like a heartbeat against her skin. It was leading her, tugging gently toward the center of the valley, toward the Tower of Reflections, toward the heart of Zar. Mala's words echoed in her mind. Greater than that's where she keeps our souls. That's where she keeps me. Nira walked faster. The path forward wound through a series of stone walkways that had once been bridges. Now they were broken in places, cracked and jagged, suspended over deep pits filled with swirling silver mist. Below, she could see flickers of trapped memories, hands reaching up, mouths trying to speak, but never making a sound. This was the road of broken reflections, a name she didn't know she knew until she stepped onto it. Each step she took was met with a shifting shimmer beneath her feet. The broken glass bridges hummed with forgotten energy. Some planks cracked under her weight, but the map and the staff guided her to the safest stones. Then came the first trap. The air shimmered. A gust of wind swept around her, spinning like a cyclone. The silver mist below rose up, shaping into something humanoid. Nira raised her staff instinctively. Show yourself. The mist coalesced. A figure stepped forward, broad-shouldered, draped in black armor, his face hidden by a silver mask. "You carry the flame." The voice was low, distorted. "I'm here for my mother," Nira said, her voice calm. "I'm not afraid of you." "Then you're a fool." The figure charged. Nira dodged just in time, her pendant flaring as the masked guardian's blade sliced through empty air. Sparks flew as it struck the crystal bridge. He moved fast, too fast for something so heavy. This isn't real, Nira thought. This is Zarila's illusion. But the blade felt real. The figure attacked again, and this time Nira raised the staff. It caught the blow, flaring bright with light. The energy threw them both backward. Nira rolled to her feet, panting. Then she noticed something strange. In the reflection of the glass beneath her, the masked figure had no face at all, just a flickering flame, and then she understood. "You're not one of hers," she whispered. "You're one of us. A soul. Someone who fought back and lost." The figure hesitated. His stance shifted. "Yes." Nira slowly lowered her staff. "You don't have to serve her. She's not your master anymore." For a moment, nothing happened. Then the flame inside the mask blinked once, like a fading star, and the figure stepped back. Slowly, it lowered its weapon. The body dissolved into silver ash. Nira watched as it drifted up into the sky like a freed spirit. "One less chain," she said softly. She continued onward. As night fell, the glass bridges began to light from beneath, glowing in blues and purples, like veins of living stone. The staff pulled her closer to the valley's center, and in the distance at last, she saw it. The tower, a spiraling spire of mirrored stone, taller than any mountain. It reflected the stars, the moon, even the dreams in her head. Lightning swirled silently around its peak, the heart of Zar, as her mother had called it. And at its base, a great mirrored lake shimmered with eerie light. But she wasn't alone. Standing on the far edge of the bridge, watching her approach, was a girl, slender, silent, familiar. Nira stopped. The girl took a step forward, revealing her face. It was Nira. Another perfect reflection, but this one was crying. "You won't save her," the reflection said, voice cracking. "Well, you'll only join her." "You're just another of Zarila's illusions," Nira snapped. "No," said the mirror Nira. "I'm the part of you that breaks. The part that knows the truth." She stepped aside and pointed down toward the mirror lake. "She's not what you remember." Nira looked tanned. The water showed her images. Allah, yes, but her face was changed. Older, cold. Her eyes mirrored. She stood beside Zarila in the tower, not trapped but guarding it. "No," Nira whispered. "That's not her. She's been in the mirror too long," the reflection said. "She's forgotten you, forgotten herself." Tears welled in Nira's eyes. "Even if it's true," she said softly, "then I'll help her remember." The reflection trembled, and then smiled. Not a cruel smile. A real one. "Then go, while there's still time." It dissolved into mist, and the path cleared. Nira stepped onto the final bridge. The lake below reflected everything, but not like a normal mirror. It twisted the images, bending them slightly, as though hiding secrets beneath the surface. The tower loomed ahead, impossibly tall. Her staff burned bright. Her pendant pulsed like a war drum. And the voice in her heart, her mother's voice, was louder than ever. She was close now, very close. But the worst lay ahead. And Zarila was waiting. The final bridge ended at a circular platform made of obsidian and glass. At its center stood a doorway all arched, carved with runes that pulsed with silver blue light. The mirrored surface shimmered like water, waiting for her to pass through. Nira paused only for a moment. She took a breath, clutched her pendant, and stepped through. The world blinked. The tower swallowed her whole. Inside was darkness, but not empty darkness. The kind that shimmered, breathed, watched. Her footsteps echoed as if she walked on endless glass. Though she could see no ground beneath her, just swirling reflections, each one showing her something different. To her right, she saw herself as a child, dancing in the field behind her home. To her left, she saw her mother weeping into her hands beneath a blood-red sky. Ahead, the hallway shifted like liquid, stretching, folding, turning in on itself. "This is her domain," Nira whispered, "the place where memory becomes the walls." She followed the only path she could, and then the tower spoke. "You're late," came Zarila's voice, cold and musical. "The tower opened for you, child of flame. It chose to let you in, and yet you hesitate." Nira clenched her staff tighter. "Show yourself. Greater than why? So you can strike me like a frightened girl swinging at shadows." "No. You've come for your mother. But what if I told you? She's already chosen her fate." Mirrors bloomed along the walls, forming a corridor of illusions. In one, Mela stood at Zarila's side, her eyes full of calm, her mouth silent. In another, she sat on a throne of glass, crowned in light, surrounded by spirits who bowed before her. In a third, she was alone, curled in a cell made of silver threads, weeping softly into her hands. "Lies," Nira said, though her voice trembled. "You're just trying to confuse me." "No," Zarila said. "I'm showing you every version of the truth, because that is what this place is made of, all truths at once. It is not I who broke your mother. It is her own reflection." The path turned into a spiral staircase made of suspended glass. Nira climbed. Each step shimmered and whispered. Offering memories she tried to block out. Her mother's lullabies. The sound of rain on their roof, the smell of tea after winter storms. "You are not strong enough," the tower said. "You are not your mother." "I don't have to be," Nira whispered. "I just have to be me." She reached the summit. The spiral staircase ended in a vast circular chamber. The heart of Zar. It was beautiful. And terrible. The room was rimmed in endless mirrors, so many, their reflections layered over each other until the chamber seemed infinite. At the center stood a raised platform. Upon it, a throne carved from a single mirrored crystal. Zarila stood before it, robes flowing like black smoke. And next to her, Mela. She was older now, her face pale, her eyes blank. Nira gasped, "Mama." Mela turned. A flicker passed through her eyes. For a moment there was something familiar. But then Zarila raised a hand, and the light in Mala's gaze dimmed. "She is no longer yours," Zarila said. "She is of the mirror now, as you soon will be." Nira stepped forward. "You're wrong," she still remembers. "Memories fade, girl. But reflection remains." Eternal Zarila lifted her hands. The mirrors pulsed, and shadows emerged. Figures made of glass and smoke, twisted reflections of Nira, Mela, and countless others. They surrounded the platform, whispering curses, hissing doubt. "You will lose. You will forget. You are nothing but a flicker in the dark." Nira's pendant burned like fire. The staff in her hand began to glow, silver this time, but gold, a new light. Brighter than any she had seen before. She planted her feet and raised the staff high. "You want reflections, Zarila?" she shouted. "Then look at me." The mirrors exploded with light. For a second every shadow froze. Even Zarila shielded her eyes. And then Mala's head snapped up. She blinked. She remembered Nira. Her voice was broken, soft, but it was her. Zarila's eyes went wide, no. She turned to Mela, reaching out. "You belong to me?" Mela stumbled back. "No, I belong to her." In that moment, Nira ran forward. She reached her mother, grabbed her hand, and together they cast the staff into the ground. Boom. A wave of light surged from the platform. It hit every mirror, every shadow, every wall of the tower. The glass screamed. Zarila shrieked, her form distorting, her robes unraveling like smoke. "No, you cannot undo me. I am the memory." But the light swallowed her and she was gone. When the light faded, the mirrors were broken. The throne was empty. The tower was quiet. Allah collapsed into Nira's arms, exhausted but alive. "You did it," she whispered. "Shh. You brought me back." Nira held her tightly, sobbing with relief. "I'm never letting go again." As they descended the tower, the valley had changed. No longer cold, no longer shimmering with illusions. The trees grew roots again, the rivers ran clear, the sky turned warm. The spirits in the mirrors were gone. Freed Corin waited for them at the foot of the tower, a soft smile on his shimmering face. "Well done, child of flame," he said. "The valley remembers now, and it forgives." The morning after the tower's collapse dawned with gold-tinted clouds and a hush in the wind, as if the whole of Shisha-Zar was holding its breath. Nira and Mela walked slowly through the glass fields, their hands clasped, their bodies weary, but their spirits still alight with wonder. The once floating mirrors had vanished. The haunting voices were gone. In their place, flowers of colored light bloomed from the crystal soil, and trees shimmered with soft leaves like blown glass. The valley of Shisha-Zar was healing. Corin, the shimmering fox spirit, padded beside them in silence. At last he spoke. "There is still one thing left undone." Nira turned to him, frowning. "But Zarilla is gone. The mirror is shattered." "Yes," said Corin. "But her shadow remains. Not in this world, but inside yours." He looked gently at Mela. "Greater than she did, not only trap your mother in the mirror, she marked her. And until that ember is extinguished, Zarilla's whisper will always be near." Mela stiffened. "I can feel it like a thorn in my mind." Nira reached out. "Then how do we get rid of it?" Corin's eyes turned solemn. "With the ember trial. You must enter her mind and burn the last of Zarilla's shadow from within." The trial of embers that night, Mela lay down on a bed of moss beside the heart tree, a vast, glowing tree made of twisted silver wood and floating blossoms. Corin drew a circle of crushed mirror dust and feather ash around her. Nira sat at her side, gripping her hand. "You must go in," Corin said, as a flame walker, "a traveler of mind and spirit. But beware Zarilla's shadow will twist everything you know. It will not fight you with force. It will fight you with doubt." Nira nodded. "I'm ready." The moment she closed her eyes, the world turned red. Not fire, not blood, something deeper. She was standing inside a memory not hers, but her mother's. A tiny cottage, rain against the windows. Baby Nira in a basket, crying softly. Mela knelt at the fire, exhausted, clutching a letter and shaking hands. From the shadows a figure emerged. Zarilla, but not tall and terrible like before. This version was quiet, smiling, beautiful. She placed a hand on Mala's shoulder. "You don't have to suffer alone," Zarilla whispered. "I can take your pain, your memories, your burden." Mela didn't answer. She just cried. "This is how she took her," Nira said aloud. "In the moments she was weakest." Zarilla turned on for the first time, saw Nira. Her smile faded. "You again," she hissed. "You don't belong here. This is my mother's mind, her memories." "And I do belong," she invited me, Zarilla said, stepping forward. "She chose me, just like she chose to forget you." The room shifted. Nira was no longer a child. She was invisible, forgotten. She saw memory after memory, Mela smiling without her, walking alone, choosing silence. "See," Zarilla whispered. "You were never enough." "That's not true," Nira shouted. She pulled the pendant from her neck and held it high. It burned gold, brighter than the illusion. The cottage shattered. The rain turned to fire. Zarilla screamed. Suddenly, Nira stood in a burning corridor. Mala's true self lay a head trapped in chains of smoke. Zarilla's shadow reared behind her, larger than before, made entirely of whispers and regrets. Nira ran. The whispers chased her. You failed her. She wanted freedom from you. You are not enough. She reached Mela and slammed the pendant into the chains. Boom! The fire surged. Zarilla's scream became a storm. And then, silence. Mela opened her eyes. In the real world, under the heart tree, and smiled. "She's gone," Mela whispered. "I'm finally free." Nira collapsed into her arms. "Me too," Corin nodded. "The trial is complete. The last ember is gone." A new dawn that morning, the valley changed. The heart tree bloomed for the first time in 100 years. The glass flowers began to sing, and from every hill spirit creatures emerged, no longer trapped, no longer twisted. They danced and spun in the air, finally free. The people of the outer lands would later say that the sky over Shishazar shimmered like a dream that day soft golds, violets and firelight trailing through clouds. Nira stood at the edge of the valley, Mala at her side. "So," Mala said, "what now?" Nira smiled. "We go home, but not forever. There are other places, other voices trapped like yours. If Zarilla could mark you, others might carry marks too." Mela nodded. "Then let's find them." Together they began their journey beyond the valley. The flame still burned inside them both, but now it burned with hope. The winds of Shishazar no longer howled. Where once spirits screamed and mirrors wept, now there was only quiet. But in that quiet, something stirred, not in the valley, but beyond it. Nira stood at the cliff's edge beside her mother. The horizon unfolded in golds and violets, dotted with towns they'd never visited and shadows they didn't yet understand. Behind them, the Oracle of Virulon stepped forward, leaning on a silver staff. "You unbound the mirror core," she said softly. "Now you must face what it set free." Nira turned. "What did we free?" The Oracle raised her hand, and the sky responded. 7 stars blazed suddenly to life above them, forming a crooked line that curved like a serpent across the heavens. Each point pulsed once, then again, and then. A glowing map appeared in the sky. The shard trail, Mela breathed. The 7 shards, according to the Oracle, the mirror core was never whole. Zarilla had stolen only a fraction of its power. But the full core, now shattered, had released 7 shards, each containing a fragment of its ancient memory, magic, and soul. "They are scattered," the Oracle warned. "And already others feel their call." "Others like Zarilla?" Nira asked. "Or worse," said the Oracle. 1 shard had flown into the thorn-swept mountains, home to ghost birds and snow witches. Another into the ruins of Neilun, where the dead whispered through broken statues. A third had pierced the ocean and vanished near the Isle of Verdesk, which no living person dared approach. Each place held a piece of the core's forgotten truth, and each would challenge them in new, dangerous ways. Into the wildwoods the first shard was nearest, deep in the wildwoods of Orin, a forest so old that even maps refused to name all its paths. Corin led the way, his paws silent against the mossy floor. The farther they went, the thicker the trees became, bark as black as coal, leaves like silver coins. "It's quiet," Mela whispered. "Too quiet," Nira said. Then a soft chime echoed from the trees. They looked up and saw a floating mirror, no bigger than a coin, spinning slowly. Then another, until hundreds of tiny mirrors hung like stars among the branches. "Are they watching us?" Mela asked. "No," Nira whispered. "They're waiting." The Mirror Moth Queen, deep within the forest, they came to a clearing and found a being unlike any they'd ever seen. A woman made of wings and shadows, her skin like stained glass, her hair a cascade of light strands. Thousands of mirror moths fluttered around her in silence. She opened her eyes, revealing silver pupils shaped like hourglasses. "You carry the fire of broken memory," she said to Nira. "Why do you disturb the grove of echoes?" "We seek the first shard," Nira answered. The queen tilted her head, "And you must pass the test of reflection. One of you must look into the mirror and face your most painful truth." Nira and Mela looked at each other. "I'll do it," Nira said. The test of reflection, the queen summoned a mirror from the air, black-edged, pulsing. As Nira stepped forward, the forest darkened. In the mirror she saw not her mother, not Zarilla, but herself, alone, afraid, wearing the same pendant, but with cracks running through it tanned her heart. She saw a world where she had failed, where she let Zarilla win, where Mela remained a prisoner in glass forever. "This is what I feared most," Nira whispered. "That I'd never be enough." The mirror flickered, and then showed Mela, placing a hand on her daughter's cheek. "You are more than enough," the reflection said. The mirror shattered and, in its place, floated the first shard, small, glowing faintly blue, cold, and yet somehow alive. A new bond as Nira touched the shard. It sank into the pendant. The entire forest shivered and the mirror moths scattered into the sky. The queen nodded solemnly. "One down," she said. "6 remain." Malaya squeezed Nira's shoulder. "We keep going. We always do." That night, beneath a sky of unfamiliar stars, Nira dreamed. She stood on a bridge of mirrors, facing a hooded figure. Not Zarilla. Someone. Worse. "You have unbound the core," the voice said. "That was your first mistake." Nira's eyes narrowed. "Who are you?" The figure pointed at her and then at the burning horizon behind him. "The world will break, unless you break first." Nira awoke in a cold sweat. Corin sat beside her, ears perked. "You felt it too?" she asked. The fox spirit only nodded. The journey had begun, and someone was following their trail. The next morning brought with it a thin mist and a deeper silence. As the sun struggled to rise above the dense wild woods, Nira tightened her cloak. The shard had been absorbed into her pendant the night before, but its energy still pulsed against her chest like a second heartbeat. Mela was already awake, drawing maps from memory and whispering to the wind fox, Corin. "Where's the next one?" Nira asked. Mela pointed to a jagged range beyond the horizon. The thorn-swept mountains, placed the old ones called Whisperfang. "Greater than charming," Nira muttered. "Let's not keep the whispers waiting." Into the thorns, the path to Whisperfang was narrow and winding. Steep ridges clawed at the sky. Black vines coiled like snakes across frozen stones. Each gust of wind carried voices, not real ones, but echoes of past travelers who never left. "Don't speak too loud here," Mela warned. "These mountains listen." They climbed. They saw stone arch-old, cracked, yet humming softly with mirror runes. Carved into it were the words, "Speak not, see not, feel all." Past the arch, the rocks became glassy and sharp. The path narrowed, and then came the first guardian. The shard did it. It was not a dragon, though it resembled one. Its body was woven from broken mirror shards, each one reflecting Nira's face at a different angle. It moved with a slow, scraping sound glass grinding against stone. Its eyes glowed blue. It did not roar. It hummed. "It senses the shard," Mela whispered. "It wants the shard," Nira replied. Without a word, Corin leaped at the beast's flank, distracting it while Nira raised her staff. The shard in her pendant pulsed, sending a beam of light toward the creature. The creature froze. Its mirrored plates began to quiver, shatter, and fall. It collapsed silently into snow and shards. But its reflection remained in a nearby boulder, staring at them with silent fury. "It's not over," Nira murmured. The vault of frozen echoes at the peak of Whisperfang lay the ruins of an old monastery. The vault of frozen echoes. Snow blanketed the roofless halls. Ice clung to prayer bells that hadn't rung in centuries. Within the central chamber was something untouched by time. A door of solid mirror, covered in frost. Mela placed her hand on it. Her breath caught. "I remember this place," she said. "I was here once."
Oh.
With Zarilla. The door responded to her touch. It melted open.
Oh.
Sighed. A spiral staircase descending into darkness lit by soft blue flame. The second shard at the bottom they found a vault. Floating at its center was the second shard, glowing with an icy brilliance, spinning slowly above a mirror pedestal. But as Nira stepped forward, the flames turned white, the air thickened, and suddenly Zarilla's voice filled the chamber. "Hello, little thief. It wasn't her. Just a recording, a memory. If you're hearing this," the echo said. "You've survived the first shard. Clever. But there are things beneath the vault that should have stayed buried." The walls began to shake. Chains slithered down from the ceiling, coiling toward Nira and Mela. The mirror on the floor cracked hand. A face appeared in it, Zarilla's face, smiling cruelly. "Catch me if you can," she whispered. The shard flared on. The face vanished.
Ow.
The vault collapsed around them. Escape and aftermath, they barely escaped the falling ruins. Snow and glass rained from the sky as they leapt across collapsing stairways. Corin darted ahead, guiding them toward a narrow crack in the mountain wall. Behind them, the vault sealed itself again, trapping the echo of Zarilla beneath stone. Nira held the second shard in her hand. It was colder than the first. Sharper, greater than she knew we'd come here, Nira said. She planned this. Mela looked at the snowy horizon. She's not just haunting mirrors anymore. A map rewritten that night. The sky map returned. The stars realigned, showing 5 more shard locations. One pulsed from the Silshadao Dunes, a desert with no moonlight. Another from the sunken vaults of Maryland, deep under sea. One flickered in the ashen marshes, a land of ghosts and smoke. Another in the Crimson Choir Isles, where every song has a price. And the last, most distant, was hidden in the sky itself, in a place called the Floating Reaches. Each would hold a test, which would pull them deeper into a story far older than Shishazar. Nira looked to the stars. 5 shards to go. Corin howled. The wind shifted, and far, far away. Zarilla smiled in a reflection, waiting. The land changed quickly beyond the mountains. Where the air had once been crisp and sharp, it turned dry and heavy. The clouds stopped following. Even the wind forgot how to move. It entered the Silchadao Dunes, a desert spoken of only in desert songs and only in silence. "There is no moon here," Mela said. "There never was," Nira replied. Above them, the sky was black not night, but a void where stars refused to shine. The desert of lost names by day, the dunes shimmered with glass-like grains, reflecting memories instead of light. At night, the desert whispered in unfamiliar tongues. "Did you hear that?" Nira asked. "It's the sand," Mela said. "It remembers every traveler who never left. How comforting."
Ow.
They walked until the sand turned silver. There, half buried in the dunes, was a structure. Not a temple, not a ruin, but something in between. Its towers were made of woven bone and black stone. At its center, a broken statue of a figure with no face and arms outstretched toward the sky. Words were etched at its base. "Greater than where no moon watches, time does not pass," Great Mela muttered. "A temple to time. That can't go wrong." The hourglass garden inside, they found a courtyard of still air and soft ticking. Dozens, maybe hundreds of floating hourglasses drifted slowly through the space. Some were large as trees, others smaller than hands, but none of them moved. Not one grain of sand fell. Nira stepped into the circle and the world stopped. She blinked. Dan Mela was gone. Corin frozen mid-step, her heartbeat the only sound. A voice echoed through the emptiness. "Why do you seek the 3rd shard?" "Because I want to stop Zarilla," Nira answered aloud. "And because I need to protect what's left of my world." "Do you even know what the shards truly are? Pieces of the mirror core?" "No," the voice said, suddenly fierce. "They are pieces of you. Reflections broken apart when the core shattered. Each one holds not just power but truth." "Whose truth?" "Yours." The world blinked again. Mela stood beside her, looking dazed. Corin growled low. "Something's watching," he said. From the center of the temple, a clock began to chime. Once, twice, 7 times. Then silence. In its place, a stairwell descending into shadow. The chamber of stillborn time they climbed down for what felt like hours or seconds. Time didn't exist here. Even breathing felt uncertain. At the bottom, a vast room lit by a clock suspended upside down. At its base floated the 3rd shard, glowing with pale amber light. As Nira approached, the mirrors on the wall flared in. A figure appeared. Not Zarilla. Nira. Older, sharper, tired. She stared at herself. "You're not real," Nira whispered. "It could be," the reflection said. "If you fail, if you keep chasing shadows instead of building a future, You think I don't want a future? Nira shouted. I'm fighting for one. Then stop running from who you are. The mirror cracked. Nira touched the shard. Time surged, flowing backward, then forward, then still. And then everything snapped back into place. The forgotten clockmaker, as they climbed back to the surface, the temple changed. A figure stood at the edge of the dune, a man in robes of threadbare silver, gears clicking beneath his skin. His eyes were the color of forgotten time. You have awoken the temple, he said softly. I am the clockmaker, and I have been waiting for you. Are you a guardian? Mela asked. No, he replied. I am a witness. The shards you seek are echoes of a much older war, won between mirrors and memory. Zarilla was only a spark. You are the fire. He handed Nira a scroll. The next shard lies deep beneath the sea in the vaults of Merlin. But be warned. Water remembers deeper than glass, and it does not forgive. With that, he vanished, turning into sand. The sky map shifts that night. The stars returned. 3 shards now glowed in Nira's pendant. A warmth spread through her chest, but so did a weight. 5 remained. A weight. And far away, on a black cliff beside a crashing sea, Zarilla stood watching the stars. She turned to a mirror and whispered, "Greater than she's getting stronger." The mirror rippled. A second voice answered, "So are we." The stars above had just begun to fade when the sea called to them. From the edge of the shifting dunes, they followed the silver map inked on the scroll given by the clockmaker. It led them east toward a coastline where waves crashed, not with rhythm, but with intention. "This sea is wrong," Corin muttered. "It watches. It remembers," Mela corrected softly. "The vaults of Merlin are not just hidden beneath the ocean. They are the ocean." The whispering shore of the beach was cold and silent. No birds, no breeze. The sand glittered like powdered glass, and every step whispered a name. Nira paused. "Did you hear that?" she asked. "Yes," said Mela. "It said yours." Just then, a tower of coral rose from the seat, twisting like a dragon's spine. A path of glowing blue stone emerged from the tide, leading straight into the water. At the end of the path stood a figure, tall, robed in green kelp and flowing shells. Her face was hidden behind a silver veil. "I am the Tide Warden," she said.
Only.
"Those who surrender their memories may enter." "We need them," Nira protested. "Then you must choose which ones to keep." The memory tithe. Inside the tower, each of them stood before a bowl made of polished pearl. One by one, they dropped droplets of memory into its childhood moments, faces of friends, fragments of warmth. "You'll get them back," the Tide Warden said, "if you return unchanged." The water swallowed them whole. The world below, they sank not by force, but by choice. The water did not drown them, it welcomed them. They passed glowing jellyfish, crystal eels, and ruins of sunken cities. Statues of forgotten gods loomed from the silt, holding broken mirrors. At the deepest point, they reached a cavern of black stone where gravity ceased. A spiral staircase twisted around an air bubble filled with ancient machinery. At its center, the 4th shard, locked inside a prism of spinning glass and water. The puzzle of flow for pillars surrounded the prism. On each, a carving showed a different emotion. Grief, joy, fear, wonder. "It's a test," Mela whispered. "Of what?" Nira asked. "Of truth." They placed their hands on the symbols, reliving moments from their lives that matched each emotion. When Nira reached grief, she saw her mother's face the day she disappeared into the storm. When Mela touched fear, she relived the night her village was swallowed by roots. The prism shattered. The shard floated toward Nira, glowing deep teal. The Leviathan awakens. The silence broke. From the darkness beyond the cavern, a massive eye opened, followed by scales the size of rooftops. The Leviathan of Merlin had awakened. It was neither fish nor dragon, but something older, carved from sea and sorrow. It did not roar, it wept. "It guards the past," Mela said, and it thinks we've stolen it. Corin leaped forward, claws glowing with runes. We don't fight it, Nira shouted. We show it truth. She raised the shard and poured her memory of loss into the water around them. The Leviathan paused, blinked, and lowered its head. The blessing of Merlin the sea shimmered. From the Leviathan's eye fell a single terra pearl of impossible size. It dissolved into the water, and a soft voice echoed through the current. The fourth shard is accepted, but the fifth lies where stars bleed and shadows sing. They were pushed gently upward, rising from the vaults like morning sun. As they breached the surface, the sea behind them closed not with violence, but peace. The sky shifts again on land. Nira looked up, for shards now glowed in her necklace. The constellations twisted, slightly realigning. A wind carried the scent of burnt feathers. Where to now? Mela asked. To the peaks, Nira said. Where the sky meets the storm? That's where stars bleed. Far across the ocean, on a high cliff, Zarila crushed a seashell in her palm. Greater than she holds for. Then bring me the fifth, she answered coldly, and send the hollow ravens to greet her. The air changed as they approached the mountains. Gone was the scent of salt and sea. Here the wind carried the bite of iron and ash. Jagged peaks tore into the sky like broken blades, and above them the stars bled. Nira looked up. They're red, she whispered. Why are the stars red? This is where the sky remembers war, Mela replied, and the land never forgot it. The Crimson Spires. The range was known in myth as the Crimson Spires, a place where no birds flew and no echo returned. Their path twisted through narrow ledges, bone-white trees, and blood-hued moss. Giant statues, broken and half-buried, lined the trail. Each wore a blindfold carved in stone. Who were they? Corin asked. Watchers, said Mela. They saw the truth once and could never unsee it. Nira's shard pulsed as they neared a cliff edge. Beneath, hidden in a valley of shadow and crimson light, lay a ruined observatory. Its dome cracked open like a broken eye. This, she knew, was where the fifth shard waited. The hollow ravens, but they weren't alone. Black shapes circled above. Not birds, but creatures with bone wings and empty faces. Hollow ravens, Mela said grimly. Zarila's messengers. They eat memory ... and scream it back at you. They attacked. Corin leaped into battle, his blade gleaming. Mela drew circles of silver fire with her staff. Nira held the shard high, its light repelling the darkest of the flock. But the largest raven, with a crown of bone and a tongue of shadow, landed before her. It opened its beak and screamed her mother's voice. Nira, help me. I'm lost. I'm cold. Nira froze. Tears welled up. It's not real, Mela shouted. It is her voice, but twisted. I need her, Nira whispered. I need to know. But then she remembered something. She's not a scream. She's a song. She began to hum. The lullaby her mother used to sing. The raven screeched. It faltered. It shattered. The others fled. The observatory of forgotten skies, the dome creaked as they entered. Inside was a collapsed ceiling, rusted orreries, and broken constellations hanging from invisible threads. In the center, a star map etched in crystal. This map, it chose. Shishazar, Mela gasped. From above, the map glowed as Nira approached. A single star blinked red. The fifth shard, she whispered. It's hidden in the heart of a star. Fallen to earth. No, Mela said. It's not a star. It's a wound. At the base of the map lay a mirror, cracked and blackened. Nira reached toward it. The fifth shard rose, shaped like a flame. The burning choice as she grasped it, a wall of fire erupted around her. In the flames, she saw two visions. One, her mother trapped in Zarila's tower, asleep but alive. Two, Shishazar, consumed in darkness, its mirrors breaking, its people weeping. You may save one, said a voice, but not both. Nira's heart broke. There must be another way, she cried, but the fire only whispered, greater than choose. The echo of rebellion just then, Mela burst through the flames, not burning, but glowing. You don't have to choose, she shouted. Your will is stronger than prophecy. She threw her own shard into Nira's hands. The 5 shards fused. A burst of silver-blue light exploded outward, destroying the fire. The echo of the mountain roared. The dome collapsed. As the dust settled, Nira stood, glowing with power, her hand a key of mirror light. In the sky, the stars realigned into a symbol, a door. The final path revealed greater than where does it lead? Korin asked. To her, Nira said, and to the secret of Shishazar. Far across the land, Zarila's mirror shattered. She screamed. She has the key. Yes, my queen, a dark voice answered. Then I shall open the gate myself and meet her at the end. Nira, Korin, and Mela returned to the city of Shishazar, now corrupted by Zarila's dark influence. They used the mirror key formed by the 5 shards to unlock the reflected world, a secret mirrored dimension beneath the city. In this surreal world, reality twists and time falters. There, they confront Zarilla, who reveals a shocking truth. She is Nira's mother, once a bearer of the shards who turned, corrupted by her own vision. Zarilla tries to tempt Nira into joining her, offering to rule together, but Nira rejects her. A climactic battle ensues, with Nira using her memories and choices, not fate, to break Zarilla, control and restore the balance of the reflected world. The chapter ends with Zarilla surrendering and Nira learning that one final shard still lies beyond all mirrors, in a place where light forgets to shine. The city of Shishazar breathed again. Its towers sparkled like dawn-kissed frost. The mirror gates closed softly behind Nira and her companions. The war was over, or so it seemed, but one echo remained. One shard yet lies beyond all mirrors, where light forgets to shine. Nira heard it not with her ears, but deep within her soul. The prophecy was not complete. Forgotten shard. Zarilla led them to the Hall of Origins, deep beneath the temple ruins. There was a 6th shard, she confessed, hidden not in the world, but in the void between reflections. A place with no time, no form, a prison, and a test. Why was it hidden? Mela asked. Because it holds what we were never meant to see, the truth behind the mirror. Zarilla opened a portal, black as ink, silent as snowfall. If you go, she told Nira, you may not return. Ow! Then I'll go alone, Nira said. The abyss of no reflection Nira stepped through. The world disappeared. She fell into nothing, a silence so deep it pressed against her thoughts. There were no walls, no stars, only her own heartbeat echoing in eternity. Then she saw it, shard, floating. It looked normal, small, silver, silent. But as she approached, it spoke. You have sought truth, but are you prepared to see it? Nira nodded. Then look. The mirror behind Almir's vision struck her. She saw the first mirror bearers, children, elders, beasts, all who had carried shards. She saw civilizations rising and falling. She saw her mother as a girl. She saw herself as an old woman. And then she saw a future where the world ended in mirrored silence, because no one had chosen, because they had only watched. The mirror is not meant to show us truth, Nira whispered. What? You understand? Then take me. The completed shard with the 6th shard in her hand, Nira returned. The Hall of Origins lit with blinding white light. The other 5 shards rose and merged into it, becoming one perfect mirror, small enough to fit her palm, powerful enough to hold the universe. Zarilla knelt. You did what none of us could. Mela bowed. Even Korin was silent. What now? He asked. Nira held the completed mirror up to the sky. the reflection of a new world. The mirror glowed, not with power, but with clarity. It showed the world as it was, broken, beautiful, messy, alive. "We rebuild," Nira said, "but not by watching from behind glass." She placed the mirror in the temple's heart. "We learn, we love, we live." The mirror dimmed. Its work was done. Epilogue. A new light years passed. Shishazar became a city of wonder and wisdom, not because of magic, but because of memory. The mirror was never used again, but it remained. Just in case someone forgot, greater than the truth is not what we see, it's what we choose to become. Thus, the secret of Shishazar was not the mirror. It was the girl who saw beyond it.